You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 269th episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. This is Tim in sunny and beautiful Orlando, Florida.
Oh, this is Matt, super sleepy and tired in what's been a very muddy Minneapolis.
And this is Spencer in Boston, where it is crispy and fall-like, and the apples and the orchards and the pumpkins and the whatnots, and the spice. It's just coming out of the Starbucks everywhere.
Just the
Dunkins. Yeah,
pumping the spice out. It's cross weather here, guys. It just smells like mud.
I blew it. You know, I've been here for maybe only 5 years, but you can tell I'm not a local because I went to Starbucks first and not Dunkin'.
The Dunks.
Yeah, I blew it. Can we do this over?
We'd like to welcome everybody to Weather Talk, and here we are, where everyone likes to have some fun. Guys, lots of good racing. Naturally, the big one is the 5th of 6 monuments for the cycling season, and an epic performance by the most anonymous man in Grand Tour racing, Bauke Mollema, with an amazing win. How awesome was it to see at Il Lombardia?
I was screaming at the screen. Were you guys screaming at your computers?
I mean, I was just waiting for the catch because I was like, how is he going to... we just told the world that he's going to finish 4th or 5th in every single race, and then how is he going to do us like this?
Oh, it was great that he did us like that, though. I was so happy.
I was very, very happy that he did it. But I have to admit, though, that I definitely thought Valverde was going to catch him or that Roglic was going to, right?
I only got nervous when Roglic shot off the front. I really wasn't too worried about Valverde. But when Roglic shot off the front at one point, I got nervous. And the time checks were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
You know? There was a point where the time check was like 40, and then it suddenly shot up to a minute, and I was like, no, that can't be true. The time checks must be wrong. There's no way he's pulling a minute out of Roglic and all those guys right now. And then suddenly it was 20, and I just was losing it, screaming at him to go faster. And he did. He listened.
Quite the track record of top 10s at Grand Tours we're stoked for. He's also won in 2015 the Japan Cup.
Ah.
So our favorite monument, which he will be at in 2 weeks. He just won Lombardia. Stoked to see. I love that race. I love watching Lombardia. It was fun to see on the television. I was able to, stream it live. Great, 100% awesome on Flow Sports. And Loga, you kind of sold me on these Italian classics.
Well, good. I'm glad. It only took a lot of yelling at you. This last week was awesome. I don't know how anyone could not think this was one of the best weeks of cycling. Capped off with Lombardia, and then they throw in a little Perry Tours, in case you're getting bored. You're like, maybe I don't want to watch road race anymore, and then they're like, oh, here's a cool sprinter race, but we're going to throw in a bunch of great gravel sections and piss off Quick Step Boss about it. It's great.
Well,
it's
not just the Quick Step Boss. This is my favorite thing, and we haven't. Johan Brunel crawled out from his spider hole to let us know how disappointed he was in the new version of Paris Tours. And he's like, it's road racing, people. For gravel and cobbles, there's Strade Bianche and Paris-Roubaix. And Johan, you're welcome to your opinion. I absolutely love it. But like we said on Twitter, we welcome you to come in person here to the United States. Come see us, sit down next to me, and let's have a lovely chat about your feelings on Paris Tours. I'm sure I wouldn't be the only person that would love to see you.
Yeah, I feel like...
I'd love to see him.
Yeah, I feel like the podcast green room, we've got a chair available for him at any time. And, if he has trouble, we'll even buy the plane ticket if he wants to.
We'll totally buy the plane
ticket. That's a nice offer.
Yeah.
This would be quite the exclusive if we could get Johan Brunel on our show, and it just happens to correspond with a knock on the door. Like, oh, wow. Who arranged this awesome, like, talk about the lead of the century.
Special guest. What do you know?
What do you know? It's the FBI. Hi. Hey, Johan, imagine that. Oh, damn. And then with our luck, we wouldn't have turned on our cameras, right? Like we would have. Like,
we'd have to start recording really early. Yeah.
Or we didn't press record during the whole thing anyway.
That would be our style.
Paris tours look great, mostly little guy, because one of our favorite riders took the victory.
Yeah, from
Jelly
super far out.
Jelly
Far
Willays,
out, basically.
30 seconds over Terpstra. So.
Was it 52K or something like that? He went.
Yeah,
that's so far.
The cobbles look good. It was fantastic. So Lombardia were great, but little guy, what was the real highlight of your Italian Classics weekend?
Week. I don't. So all of it was good. This was great. Every day, basically, you come home, you got a bike race. But Michael Woods. Attacking. Boom, popping Valverde and Milan Torino was so good.
Kind of gave him a taste of his own medicine, eh?
Oh, definitely. He just, oh my god, he attacks so hard. This whole week, man, I'm bursting with joy. It totally made me not pay attention to other stuff in the news. I hope nothing bad happened in American politics in the last week. But this was a little safe space for me. It was great, and now it's gone. But
well, it was. So the other Classics race that was going on in Italy was obviously the Piedmont with Bernal taking the win.
Yeah.
But then Bernal also showed really well at Lombardia.
Oh yeah,
he did.
Is Bernal like trying to sneak in there to go like raise his hand to the slow ride pod and say like, "Hey guys, I'm actually a pretty cool racer. I'm not just going to be a Grand Tour, stallion. I'm going to be able to do it all."
I think he did. I mean, yeah. How great is it that we have multiple Grand Tour winners and contenders fighting it out in Classics as opposed to kind of the way it was when we first started watching, and maybe
I was just going to bring that up.
Would let Lance show up once a year.
I was just going to bring that up, little guy, and Spencer, is I don't recall, like, how many of these types of races, Spencer, do you recall Armstrong doing?
Oh, like
during
zero.
That era.
I think he only did
still.
San Sebastian every once in a while, but I didn't see this race happening, and I only watched the little recap on GCN on YouTube, and their voiceover, their commentary on that was like, made some mention of like, oh, it's so nice to see a Grand Tour rider riding so well so late into the season. That's amazing. We haven't seen that in forever, and I was
especially a Tour de France. Like the last many years, anyone who wins the Tour basically shuts it down.
Oh yeah, what else do you need to do?
He came back and put together. I mean, he had a bunch of good results this whole week, so it was just nice to see.
I know we could look it up, but like I don't recall even Ulrich doing things outside of this, right? Like it kind of
not very much.
They all shut it down. I know he's at the Ben and Jerry's race, but
the buffet opened right after the Tour, I think.
But I kind of have this. It's pretty cool to see. Absolutely stoked. And then like Roglic with his like good showing. I don't know, Michael Woods. I mean, it's so awesome to see him win.
It is great to see him.
The American hope.
Did you guys? I have a special place in my heart this week for David Gaudu of FDJ, who he had at Gran Premio Bruno. He got 4th, and he got 5th at Milan Torino, and 11th at Lombardy. Good results, but the attacking style, the bike, throwing it everywhere. He had the most spastic, amazing Frenchman attacks that I've ever seen. It was so good. And Pierre Latour is the same way, and I really enjoyed that this week you had two kind of like not top pick Frenchmen who were always there in the group, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to get popped. They're not going to win. But they would put down these attacks where they would throw the bike almost like horizontal in this like, just laying it all out there. It was so great. It was so exciting to watch them attack.
Right. Inefficient, but very showy. I love it.
Yeah.
So speaking of efficient.
Okay, I like this segue.
I'd like to take you on Curveball Corner. It's a little known segue here. Were you guys watching the Ineos 159 challenge at all? That happened yesterday morning, Saturday morning. We're recording this Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
I did not watch.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So I know I'm going to butcher the name, and I apologize, but Iliad Kipchoge from Kenya, who ran the 1:59:40 marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kind of crazy.
so a couple of things that I want to like to segue this into the cycling. A couple of things. One is Ineos all over the sponsorship. So Ineos is now they're really getting into the petrochemical state, right? Like they're kind of almost like the way Bahrain is spending the money or Emirates, like just going all in, like doubling down on like, this is what we do if you are a petrochemical billionaire. So the guy runs this 1:59:40 and instantly the haters are out saying like, oh, his shoes like had like springs built into them or something, right? And then, oh, he had these pacers that would drop out after like just 2 laps. Like, so he was getting like the benefit of a draft. Anyways, I was absolutely stoked on it. What would be the equivalent in the world of cycling, do you think, on this? Is this like similar to like how the hour record was Graham Obree with like the washing machine bike?
Well, kind of, but I bet a lot of people that don't understand cycling, if you sat down and explained it to them in one day and were like, yeah, they have teammates that help them and they draft and they go get them water bottles and the team brings them spare wheels, they'd be like, well, that's cheating. You know? They'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why don't they just race for themselves? Like, why?
Yeah.
I think just generally road cycling would confuse most people if you explain it. They would think, why are they doing that? And then that one guy wins, but his teammates had to do all that work. They'd be like, that's crazy.
And yeah, anyways, I absolutely loved it. I didn't know it was happening until I saw the results, right? But it was really cool to see the whole setup. And, you know, this guy clearly, like, I believe he owns the world record for the marathon anyway in Berlin. But it was really cool to see. It's kind of weird, that little like adjacent cycling sponsorship of Ineos, and to see the whole team effort that this guy had built around him. It was kind of like we see with Chris Froome or Bernal, of like just all in for one guy to dominate. And it was cool to see. But anyway, we can get off of Segway Street here.
Yeah.
So over the week, I was up in Baltimore doing a run through.
Is it the city that reads? I said this last time we talked about Baltimore. Is that right? But I never looked it up. You didn't notice it on park benches or something?
No, I didn't.
With books in hand? Okay.
No, everyone just had poems in hand from Edgar Allan, little known poet. Anyways, as I was in Baltimore, they did announce the new pro race, like not World Tour, but the level underneath that. So it's like the Pro Tour race, and they're expecting 10 UCI teams to come to Baltimore next spring. And I got to say, legitimately within the city, granted, I was hanging out in bike shops and talking to other cyclists. There's a lot of people talking about this event. It was pretty cool. Also saw a little like news blurb about it when I was there. So, you know, right now I did laugh a little bit because they're expecting supposedly the same amount of crowd that showed up at the UCI World Championships in Richmond. And I kind of think that may be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty cool to see a race coming up. But the major negative here is that there isn't a women's race. And it's so disappointing when you think about the effort and time they're putting into putting on a men's race. And you think that if you already have the road rolling enclosures, that there's a way.
There's definitely a way
to make this happen. And it would be really cool because judging by the women's racing calendar this year, there wasn't much going on in the U.S. And this would be a great opportunity to showcase cycling all the way across the realm.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know.
Yeah.
But do you know why? You guys heard any reason why they're not doing a women's race other than...
They said it's their number one priority to add the race in year 2. But
I don't know why that's not a priority for year 1 or for the next event that any promoter does. At this point, it seems like a no-brainer to avoid a ton of just bad press and negative vibes. You know, whether you deserve it or not, it's going to come. You know what I mean? So just do it and save yourself the trouble and make everybody happy and do a good job of it. Don't half-ass it.
I'm excited for it to happen, right? Like on paper, you're like, oh, this is great. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go up there to go see it because half the fun of going to Richmond for the one-day World Championships was several different types of racing, and the women's race was absolutely dynamite.
Oh my God. So good.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we'd be remiss to mention that this race is going on without the women's aspect.
No, it's
and
true.
that also segues into, I don't know if you noticed, Abby Mickey's kind of tweets. I haven't gotten firsthand knowledge from Abby, but via Twitter, it looks like Abby may be retiring. So very kind of elusive. So Abby, it'd be great to know what's going on, what the next step is. I know that it'd be really cool to still hear you on the podcast airwaves and talking about women's racing and getting all the coverage it deserves.
Yeah, we'll hit her up on WhatsApp on the secret group and see what's going on. Tim, tossing it back to women's racing real quick. Just a little nugget. Next year, Hammer Series, women's racing.
Women's racing is added to the... Yeah, absolutely awesome. This should be just like Women's Avenue here. Just 3 dudes talking about women's racing. But how awesome is it that Hammer Series is going to have a women's category?
I've been waiting for this.
I'm going to call it right now. I guarantee the women's racing at Hammer Series is going to be way more exciting than the men's.
Oh. The men's racing
and I'm just going to get on stereotype. I'm going to get on stereotype lane here.
Okay.
And that's because I bet when it's the whole points race competition, the women are actually going to play it the correct way and like be like, well, no, we need to go capture all these points and make sense. Whereas the men are like, it's so confusing. I don't understand what's going on. I need a race radio to tell me when to attack. The women are going to be like, carry the 2, cap the 3. I need to follow her. And I'm absolutely going to love every single second of it.
Be like, finally a chance to use my PhD in nuclear physiology.
Yeah, this is why I have my PhD.
That's definitely the bigger thing of it, because it will all be PhDs.
Oh man, I know. But
I'm absolutely stoked.
I'm super looking forward to that. I hope more races can add the women's fields, and we'll get in touch with Abby and get her back on the show to see what's going on in that regard.
So continuing with the women's racing theme, Katusha, as we all know, on October 4th, announced that they were going to be, merging with Israel Cycling Academy. Mm-hmm. And then they made the announcement that they're going to have a women's world tour team.
Very exciting.
And they're going to merge with an existing team.
It's like Clue.
And I know.
Who's got the candlestick, Tim?
I am excited for this announcement that I can't say anything, and that's why people listen to this podcast. Rumors straight from the source, but
they love it.
We are so top secret here that we have to respect everything.
Okay, so we're saying it was Colonel Mustard with the candlestick, but you're not going to say where.
Well, I was going to say it's in the lobby, and it's the candlestick with, and then say the team, but I can't.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to say, the cards that are in that envelope in the center of the board.
No, I peeked. Yeah, I totally know.
I see.
Okay.
And we're supposed to believe you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
And all of our listeners
Tim,
are
write it on
supposed
a
to
piece of
just
paper.
trust.
I'm going to write it on a piece of paper. I'm going to mail it to myself and take a
Okay.
picture next to the newspaper printed today.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I can prove to everybody that I knew what it was.
Get that up on our Instagram ASAP.
Because the one thing people come to this podcast for is to listen to people say, I know, but I can't tell you.
Oh,
There's
it's my
nothing better in
favorite trope.
podcasting than somebody telling you they've got a really good secret and you don't get to know. It's so satisfying.
But it's very exciting.
I mean, I guess people did listen to Serial, and that was basically not knowing for like
Little guy,
5-6 weeks.
I'm going to put a $5 on the fact that I don't think Tim actually knows. Would you put a $5 on that?
I'd put a $5 on that.
So you think he does know?
I totally know.
I think he doesn't know. I'm with you.
Okay. A lot of $5 out here.
So
Yep.
A lot of secrets we can't tell.
I look forward to Tim
I-
having to go buy a newspaper so he could take this picture.
I know. I was thinking, where can I go get the Orlando Sentinel, and does it even print 5 days a week anymore? I don't know.
I mean, go down to the corner store. They probably got one from a few days ago too, so you can really sell it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Pick up a
Well,
New York
guys.
Times from last week.
Yeah.
There's so much to discuss. Hey, what was the other thing? Oh,
segue. Wait.
segue back to this awesome week of Italian racing.
Okay, segue back. I like it.
All right.
Valverde wearing his Spanish national team jersey.
Oh,
And getting
God.
many top 10 results, but no wins.
Many top tens. It's a little awkward. I
Little. Also,
I know
really
the
good.
gentleman that designed Valverde's national championship jersey.
Right.
Oh, really? Was it Valverde?
And-
Did he do it himself? Do you know Valverde?
No,
It
but
didn't
I
look very
asked.
hard.
I said,
I don't
"Where
wanna
are
be
the
mean, but
where are the world championship stripes?"
oh, good point.
And I don't. And
Oh,
from
yeah.
what was relayed to me is that the Movistar sponsorship, like Telefonica, like they're very keen on the color, and that's why they don't want to have any variants. Like they are so important to that Spanish market that having the Spanish flag mixed in with the blue corporate color of the Movistar sponsorship is what's key.
That's more important to them than the World Championship stripes.
But that then led to my other question. So like I don't know, and I haven't heard yet. Is he allowed to have the World Championship stripes immediately after he won them, or is there like a
Yep.
calendar break? Like, does he have like 3 months that he can't wear them until January 1st, and then he can do like? Do we know if did Sagan have them?
I'm
On
sure
his-
Sagan had them
Yeah,
immediately.
he had him on Monday for sure.
Yeah. I don't think there's any rule about that. I think
I'm just
you
curious,
Just get the
so-
bands afterwards.
But I did notice that Valverde doesn't have the World Championship stripes. It's kind of weird.
That's
I
funny.
was
I didn't
assuming
notice
that his national championship jersey was going to be that blue because they've done that before with all of the
Right.
other national championships that Movistar's had. When he's won the Spanish before, and then when they had Nelson Oliveira with the Portuguese time trial national championship, they had like kind of the flag interspersed with the blue. So
Right.
not that surprising, but just not having the world champ stripes is a little awkward.
Here's the thing: if you're Valverde, are you just like whatever, pay me, or are you like, man, that sucks? I wanna like celebrate this thing, this achievement.
I think it'd be really cool if he just had one whole sleeve of his jersey with like a band for each time he's won either the national or world championship. So it kind of looks like a tree. So he's got like rings kind of coming up to show his age. And like he'd have to wear long sleeve jersey all the time because there'd just be so many national championships up the.
Have you
up the arm?
seen a tree before, Tim?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, I don't. Okay,
Tim's not in the design department. He's just throwing out ideas, and
Yeah.
the
I'm the
designer
ide-
will
I'm a-
take it and translate Tim's knowledge of trees and stuff into a coherent design.
true. Okay, all right.
I'm the idea man on the podcast.
Yeah, he's the
I
idea
see.
man.
So,
You always get the idea man that spits out some complete nonsense, and the designer goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll integrate all those weird things you just said. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, elephants,
Perfect.
crocodiles, and beer kegs. Got it."
it's basically
I'll get the
every
design next year.
charity century bike ride jersey of all time.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. And then they just take one of the things you said and they make it happen in a coherent way, and
Right. Now,
you probably forget what you said anyway.
so Tim, if I was Valverde, and the team said, "Oh, the sponsor won't let you put the bands, around the cuffs and the collar and stuff, because of brand identity, brand standards. Their brand book won't allow it." I think I would have to rebel in any way that I could. I think I would have world championship striped socks. I would have the gloves on. I would have even
I'd
if
go
it was
tattoo.
cold, I'd have the little neckerchief gator thing on.
Yeah.
The helmet paint job. Anything I could.
I guess that I'm shocked that Movistar, like they're definitely taking the high road here. Rest in peace, one of my favorite cycling teams of all time. But they're definitely taking the high road here versus what the way Sagan looked in his jersey, because like he went full white,
Yeah.
the national flag, and then the corresponding equally wide world championship stripes. So like from the TV and the helicopter, you're like, wow, I didn't know Sagan was the world champion in a different discipline on the road. And then you'd have Valverde wearing the classic stripes.
Yep.
Movistar just was like, you know what? We're just going to own the fact that he is the Spanish national champion.
Which is amazing because every time I see that kid, I try to forget that he is the Spanish national champion.
It is so weird seeing him in that kit and not the world championship strip. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is very exciting. I would, Spencer, if I was in the predicament of Valverde, I would go get my tattoos, and I would get several tattoos of those stripes everywhere that like skin was showing, like the full
Right.
neck tattoo, like just everything.
Okay.
Ugh.
That is a bold statement. Okay.
Yeah.
Good thing you're not a better bike rider, Tim.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's a very good thing. I'd look a little David Klinger-esque. A blast from the past. Hey, new people into cycling.
Yeah.
If you listen to the
Go look up
podcast, let's say you're new since 2000. I don't know what, 9,
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah, at least.
A member of the Slow Ride podcast, like personality Hall of Fame, like one of the.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like he's not on our Mount Rushmore. We're not inducting him into the Hall of Fame, but he's definitely in a wing of the Hall of Fame
He's in
with
the
other
oddities wing.
personalities that are there.
Yeah, he's hanging out with Rico in a room in the basement.
Yeah. Him and Rico. Well, I don't know if they're hanging out in the basement. They're hanging out. They're playing ping pong on the side. You know, you can go by and you know what? I tell you what, $5 probably get you his autograph too. David Klinger, former U.S. postal rider. I think Prime Alliance. Just take a look. Take a gander.
I'm not pro cycling it, but sure.
He was one of my favorites. I have a great picture with David Klinger. Maybe I'll throw it up on the old Instagram. Huge fan of David Klinger. David, if you're listening to the podcast, we'd love to have you on. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
100%.
One of the greatest personalities in cycling. Just Google it. Just Google image search.
Definitely Google image search.
Yeah, it definitely is the image section.
So, anyway, guys, I think we have to get into the pre-lap. But before we get into the pre-lap, we have a lot to discuss in there. Lots of hidden gems. But we have some wonderful listener emails. We have some other follow-ups on a topic. We also got a last-minute text about Zwift racing that we need to get into.
Oh, it's
Spencer shaking his head in disappointment. It is going to be an all-timer segment at the end. But guys, let's get into the pre-lap.
This is Abby Mickey from Rally UHC Professional Cycling Team, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
All right, here we are. And Spencer, this is one of my favorite times of year. Little guy, you are along for the ride as well. We are absolutely stoked that you are back on the pod. And that is because we are proud members of the Wide Angle Podium Network. And it is that time once a year. Only once a year. We don't mention this all the time. It is that time once a year for our member drive. And once again, Wide Angle Podium is a member-supported network. And we're a one-stop shop for your favorite cycling, entertainment, and news. And we'd love to have you join up with us. And you can do that by heading over to the wideanglepodium.com and becoming a member.
Yeah. So we've worked pretty hard all year to put together this show, and everyone else on the networks works very hard to put together their shows. And collectively, we all work really hard on the network to make this a viable thing, something that sustains itself and can, keep the engine going, keep the locomotive steaming forward, creating the best cycling content that we can. Whether it's Bill's CX Heat Check videos, whether it's the Bike Shop CX guys, whether it's putting together the compound, the hobo camp that we had at the Trek Cup, all of that is, born from this desire to make amazing content for you guys, and it's a lot of work. And so once a year, like Tim said, we come around and we have to ask for assistance to make this happen. And so if you guys can support, that would be great. You can come in at any level that you're comfortable with, $5, $10, $15, whatever.
You can also do a one-time.
You can do a one-time. You can pay a monthly. You can pay that monthly all annually, all up front. However, whatever works for you. And it really goes a long way to supporting what we do here on the Slow Ride and in the network in general. It is it is a lot to do. Right now, we don't make any money. We almost don't lose any money, almost. But the more support we can get from members, the less we have to rely on advertising and things like this. So we want to keep bringing you content. We want to fill up our 50 to 60 minutes a week with pure, unadulterated, unsubstantiated rumors and
solid
just kind of solid gold. Yeah. So that's what we want to do, and we need your help to do that. And that leads us right into our first sponsor for the episode, which is WORX Hydroshot. Now, this is a product that I know everybody on this network has been super jazzed about because it is so easy to do these ads because it's awesome. The WORX Hydroshot Power Cleaner, it is a completely portable battery-operated cleaner to hose off your bike, hose off your muddy kit, hose off your shoes, your whatever it is from the race. And it's one of those products that just does exactly what you want it to do. You don't have to lug around a giant industrial power washer. You don't have to pour oil gas mix into it and pull a ripcord and, try to talk over 50 decibels of generator noise. It's just a nice little battery pack. It's quiet. It's easy. It pulls water straight from any water source. 5-gallon bucket. You can get the bottle cap attachment and just use a 2-liter bottle. You can use, you drop it in a lake or a pond or attach it to your hose, your garden hose at home. It is extremely versatile. It's extremely useful. We know we loaned it out at Trek, which was a super muddy event to Katie and Mark from Katie Compton and Mark Legg to use, and they were super jazzed on it. Mark did a review of it recently on his YouTube, I guess, or something. He posted a video of him washing bikes, and that's just how jazzed people are. Like, he's not sponsored by them, but he likes it that much. And if 15-time national champion, if it's good enough for them, it's gonna be good enough for you. And you, because you're a listener of Wide Angle Podium, can get a discount on the WORX Hydroshot and all the accessories and extra batteries and anything else you want to get by heading over to yourcleanbike.com and using the code CLEANBIKE when you check out. That's going to get you 15% off, and that's a pretty great deal. So show some love to the folks from WORX and pick yourself up a Hydroshot, and let them know. If you get one, tag us on the social media. We've been getting a ton of tweets and Instagrams about it, and it's great to see, and it is stuff that we can show to them and just keep this thing going forward. So really appreciate it. We'll see you out there with your Hydroshot.
And I want to real quick just go over a couple of things. So you head over to wideanglepodium.com. You select member or donate at the top.
Yep.
We have some great freebies that are only available during the drive for donors. So that includes shirts, buttons, stickers, and the coveted Aero Race pins. Mm-hmm. So you become a member, you will get 50 happiness watts guaranteed. That's what our research says. Also, in the past, we have used our member support and some of the support you guys given us to help, Katie Compton, right? We were a proud sponsor of Katie Compton during the year that she made it all the way to the second place at the World Championships. It was absolutely thrilling to be a part of that. So we are here to continue that love and to spread the love that you give to us. So very simple. If you would see us and you saw us out in Madison, hung out with us and the gravel lot guys and everybody else, and also Consummate Athlete, all of the Wide Angle Podium Network. And if you wanted to ever buy us a beer and you don't see us, this would be a way that you could buy us a beer, even if it's a one-time. It does give us support because it does cost a lot of money to keep the network going, and then also the support. Right. It's also allowed us to bring on the Mitch Docker inside the Peloton.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. That show has been crushing it lately.
Yeah.
And that you've seen, if you've listened to that show and, for that matter, this show for any amount of time, the quality has just gotten better over time. And that is directly due to support that we get and support that we're able to give Mitch and all the other shows in this network. So that is directly related to our supporters. And there are a solid handful of you guys that are making this thing work, and we just need a few more to make it actually work. So if you can, head on over to wideanglepodium.com, click on the donate button, and become a supporter. You'll get almost 4 years worth of bonus content now from all the shows. You'll get maybe some freebies if you're at that level. It's, we're not going to leave you empty-handed.
Tell you what, you become a member, we'll even allow you to go all the way back to episode 1 of the Squeaky Wheel podcast. Over 4.5 years ago, we recorded that. Guys, I don't know if you remember our original name and how horrible our microphones sounded.
Oh my God.
Thanks to the listeners and supporters, we have decent mics now and decent support. Yeah. Once again, thanks everybody that is a current member and supporter. We will continue. We're only going to have to do this one more time next week's show, but we are here to remind people, and we appreciate your support. And with that, I think it's time to get back to the show.
This is Mitch Docker, and you're listening to Life in the Peloton, also the Slow Ride podcast afterwards.
All right, guys, we got a couple of emails here, and piggybacking on our member drive, there's something I definitely want to hit up, and that is a great email we got from Joe Fabris. Hey, Slow Riders, just ordered my WORX power washer and some Miracle WAP cream for the nether regions. Keep on pedaling. That's a pun. Making it count. A guy named Joe. Joe, thank you for the support.
Very good, Joe.
And continuing on, thanks also for hitting us up on the email. Joe from area code 408, so that's out in San Francisco. I checked. I was just like, oh, where's area code 408? I think it's San Jose. Maybe he's a Sharks fan. I don't know.
This works out really well because, you can use the Miracle WAP for your long ride and then just blast it off with the Hydroshot afterwards.
Yeah. I think, Spencer, we're not legally supposed to recommend doing that. That could be problematic.
Well, it's at 320 PSI. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't want to sell it short. It cleaned my bike pretty well. I don't think I'm going to spray it on myself.
They got different settings on the nozzle there, so you can find the one that works for you a little bit.
That's true.
Do you guys remember after Jingle Cross one year, we went to the car wash, like the do-it-yourself car wash?
Yeah.
We had the power washers.
We had like $100 in quarters.
Yeah, those things were really powerful. And then
extremely powerful.
Yeah. You don't really want to.
Some would say.
I don't. A little too powerful. You probably don't want to put that directly on your bike.
Yeah, but, we did.
Those were good times. Another email here from a friend of the podcast, Brandon. Hey, fellas. I, too, was once enamored by the magic that is a Brompton. Years ago, on a work trip to New Orleans, I found a Brompton-only bike shop just outside my hotel that had rentals. Better believe I skipped all my scheduled lectures and cruised the city for a day on my little cruiser. I share a super rookie's feelings regarding the frustration surrounding how easy I see other people fold the bike versus my ability to do so. The best part was actually seeing my 6.5 foot frame riding the micro bike at a store window. I cracked myself up. Here's a picture. And yeah, it's full on the 20-inch wheels with a guy that's 6.5 feet tall is kind of hilarious. So I appreciate sending the picture. And Brandon continues, more recently, I was in London after going to Yorkshire to watch the World Champs. It was awesome. And it seemed like I couldn't go 1 minute without seeing a Brompton. The flame was reignited and my Brompton Bro Lance was rekindled. These bikes seem like little travel-sized joy machines. Sorry to have missed you guys in Waterloo. Now, here's the key, guys. Brandon left his signature on his email. He is an emergency room physician.
Okay.
So, Brandon, I don't know much about how emergency room I know a lot about emergency room doctors. They saved my life, so they deserve all the money in the world for saving my life. Brandon, have you looked at like a titanium Brompton? I don't know if they exist yet, but you're a doctor. You're like prime demographic for being the first person to have maybe a titanium Brompton. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I mean, I thought he should do it. It's not my money, so go for it.
Yes, I want pictures. We have a Brompton Brazier on retainer. Yeah. Maybe he can let us know. Like, is it steel only? Is it aluminum? I'd love to know. Like, what's the variance? Is it that new scadium? What's the new magnesium alloy thing that's popping up around?
Oh, I don't know. Is there a new magnesium? Can you go near
Don't
water?
care.
Like, is it like the old Kirk Precision frames? You couldn't bring them near the ocean because they'd explode.
Anyways, I was absolutely thrilled. So, Brandon, thank you so much for the email and the brilliant photo. We're stoked to have you jumping on board. And also, this then leads into an email that we got. Longtime listener, 5 stars for sure. The gift of bantering in the shadow of cycling nerdiness is truly exceptional. I was pedaling along recently on a day after my best cross result to date, when lo and behold, out from underbrush comes a cat while on a gravel wreck trail to embrace what everyone is talking about. Well, needless to say, for anyone who has landed on their shoulder knows, your cycling fortunes can change quickly. That is absolutely true.
Yes.
And I just want to give a quick shout out. As you guys know, I lost my cat this week.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Very sad, but it's, we move on because I named the cat DeLuca after one of my favorite cyclists, also in the crazy wing of our Hall of Fame, Danilo DeLuca. He's hanging out with David Klinger and Ricardo Rico, many others. The killer. He just had the look in the eyes. So we will, it moved on, but it was definitely sad to see. So I'm sorry to see that a cat took you out. But despite being a longtime listener, I have one dub question. Can you elaborate on the genesis and the rise to infamy of the coveted 16th place? I will be trolling the internet searching for Sweek warming up in the Gophers jersey. Keep up the good work. I need to get through the next 6 weeks. Cheers. Forever Cat 4 Master Super Average Elite. So good luck getting through the next 6 weeks of broken collarbone. I know it's not fun. Good thing there's Zwift for you. But little guy, why don't you take this away? What is the deal with the 16th place that you've captivated the nation with?
Did I captivate the nation? I'm trying to remember exactly how we came to this. I feel like we were trying to find a spot that was good, but not great. Bad, but not really bad. It was on that cusp of a result that you'd probably put on your resume, but not quite.
It'd be like what you would send your sponsor, like, oh, I got 16th place in the Durand Road Race because I was on the front for the first 5 laps, and I got dropped when I tried that last-minute attack.
Well, you kind of do. It's not really like, if you're a pro, I bet you're not probably putting a bunch of 16s down until we started making it that way. You'd maybe put the top 10s, but now it's like, but it's also a result that you're like, man, that was a hard result. That's no joke.
Yeah.
I thought that was the XY axis of where we thought the lowest person on the results who was still trying to get a good result was.
Well, this is the person that isn't working for someone else, right? Like this is the person that, like, a team leader is still going to get like 16th place maybe on that day.
Well, I think it was when we were talking about being the last non-lap rider in a cross race, and how that can be a crap result, but it's also an achievement, especially when, like today, I was racing, I think Nick Carter is the 5th ranked U23 in the world or something. And he put so much time into us on the first lap, I was very frightened I was going to get lapped on the second lap. So, that sort of thing where you're like, you're giving it your all, and maybe if you comb the results too hard, it's not the most impressive, but like, it is at the same time. I don't know. It's hard.
I also recall that maybe we started it out. I mean, this podcast has been around 4.5 years. I would say that there's also the chance that it was like Milan San Remo, and you could be going down attacking on the Poggio, and then descending on the Poggio, and you would have 30 seconds, and people are like, "Ooh, will they win? Is this the time that the attack wins?" Mm-hmm. And then you could still get 16th place, and you'd be like, "That's still a good result. Like you still showed yourself,
Oh, totally.
It was a nice happy balance between who was going to be like, if you got 16th place in a race this year, then you were a good shoe-in for a top 5 next year if you're like on that upward trajectory. Like it was probably the rider you hadn't heard of, and the first best example was Edward Thunes.
And then Dylan Thunes
first,
also later.
Right. Yeah. Yep. There were many. There were many. This has proven itself to be correct over the years. But the very first race that we paid attention to, 16th place, Edward Thunes, and everybody was like, "I never heard of this guy. Who is this?" And the next year,
boom,
he stepped it up. And so that is kind of the genesis.
Well, our boy
16th place and what it means.
Sweek, who we gave the jersey to, as mentioned in the letter at the Trek World Cup, I believe he got 8th at the Super Prestige this weekend. So already I think the jersey and the 16th place are giving him a little something extra. Moving up, doubling his result.
Well, we also got 2 emails that have to do with the World Championships. The first one comes from longtime friend of the podcast, Michael Stone. Hey guys, just caught up on episode 267. And remember, Michael was there on the course, like sending us pictures of the horrible torrential rain conditions.
Yeah.
And he's like, because of reasons and that's why I wasn't able to listen. The first half, your analysis of Worlds was spot on, particularly the thing you all took away from the week, the awful weather, so on brand for the UK. The men's elite race was indeed brutal, but you forgot to mention that they didn't even do the hard bit. Apart from the medalists, the real winners of the week were the good folks of Grinton Moor, who now have a brand new bridge that they would normally have had to wait months for Highways England to get around to building, but then they built for Worlds, and then they didn't even go over the bridge.
Yeah. I didn't remember that, but yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh my god.
Well, it's just like in the tour how you see all these mountain passes that go nowhere, and there's a fresh tarmac, and you're like, yep, that was never going to happen unless the tour was coming to that town,
Mm-hmm. Oh.
After I moved here, it was on my 3rd group ride that I was advised to take great care of big puddles and to never ride through the ford. Aside from hitting potholes, one never knows whether that is the result of rain or diuretic cows. Well, that's definitely on brand. As for Ecoff Gate, I'm broadly in agreement with you all. I was watching the event on an internet stream, and the commentator noted the excessive amount of time being spent so close to the rear of the team car. This is what my argument was. The UCI certainly handled it atrociously. 100% agreement. And then he concludes, I hope the super rookie wasn't being too sarcastic about holidaying in Yorkshire. If he does come, we'll make sure to avoid the rain clouds.
Love it.
So, so that wasn't the only time that we had to talk about Ecoff Gate on our email. And we got a really good email, in depth. And this one comes to us from Nick. I enjoy your podcast and listen regularly, enjoying your irrelevant and quirky take on cycling. However, I found your interpretation of the U23 World Championships very surprising. Your point was that rules are rules. Ecoff broke the rules and got the punishment. You neglect to comment on the following points, which I think are salient. This is, Nick, I don't know if you're a lawyer, but you're definitely pretty good here, so this is why we're reading it. Drafting to get back to the peloton happens in every World Tour race. Imagine how many Tour de France finishers there would be if riders weren't paced back on after a crash or a mechanical. The field would be decimated. Mm-hmm. And that's when Carlos Betancourt would win, but understood, point taken. His draft back to the group came after a serious crash where he reportedly dislocated a shoulder. He has gained no advantage of the other races from being paced back on. As you recognize, it's not easy being motor paced at 50 kilometers per hour. That is true. Every now and then when the big trucks come by on the road rides and you're like, oh, I'm going to jump into that draft, and you kind of do it for a while, but once it gets up to 30 miles an hour or so, you're like, this is really hard and fast. I understand. It's not easy to be paced back on.
Yeah.
Would the spectators, you and me, want to follow cycling if big name stars were left standing by the side of the road after a crash or mechanical? Probably not. We want to see Sagan fight it out with Vanderpool. I disagree a little bit here. This is the main point.
I have a point to pick about that too. Yes, please.
I love seeing the nobodies, the people that we don't know about taking the victories.
I have a longer point, but finish the letter, and then we'll talk about that.
The overriding feeling of the emphatic spectator is that a young rider who raced brilliantly, overcoming a crash, getting back, then dragging a group of riders to the finish before winning the sprint, has been harshly punished by a very inconsistent deployment of rules by the UCI. You normally see the lighter side of the story. I was surprised with your lack of empathy towards this young man, who will be utterly devastated by a blundering and foolish and heavy-handed UCI. Any comments would be welcome. Well, on the last point, I just want to throw out, welcome to the UCI, buddy, for Ecoff, right? I feel bad. He is up for a long career. He probably would have been disappointed in many other ways. Nick is absolutely right that this is going to be devastating for him, and I think we're in 100% agreement that the way they handled it was atrocious to do it after he won. Let him keep the victory. If you're going to pull him, you had over 2.5 hours to do that.
Yes.
But Spencer, what do you guys think of Nick's email? This is very good points, I think.
Oh, no, it's great. And I mean, my main takeaway is I hope I'm going to have to listen back because I hope we didn't come off too much like we 100%, at least me, came off like I 100% agreed with how things went down, because that is not the point I was trying to get across. Maybe it didn't work.
You saying I just steamrolled the conversation my way?
Maybe.
Yeah. I was pretty on the fence. I still feel kind of on the fence about what happened, and I totally agree. Like you're saying, Tim, that the way they handled it, even if we're going to say it's the right call, is the wrong way to handle it.
He should 100%. Still be in stripes today. Absolutely.
Yeah, they shouldn't have made the call when they made the call. Like they missed the opportunity. You can't go back and like review the play.
What do you think, though, little guy, of this point about would we still want to watch racing if the favorites were on the side of the road? I feel like I talked about this once a really long time. We talked about this, how like road racing should just take a little bit more from like gravel and randoneering and maybe make it so there aren't as many team cars or isn't as much assistance, and that guys have to like change their own freaking flats. Like, I think racing would be more exciting if it wasn't what we end up with at the tour, where like the yellow jersey has a problem and everybody sits there on a weights. Like, part of the racing is the technical aspect, is the fact that they have bike sponsors and tire sponsors. Like, as we saw at Perry Tours today, like flat tires played a huge role in that race. And like if you want to be a tire sponsor, like, you should make some tires that don't go flat all the time. Like, that's more impressive, I feel like, to the average cyclist than you're like, oh, cool, Team Ineos is on the fastest tires, but then they show up at Perry Tours and maybe they get 100 flats. Like, would you buy that tire? Like, no, like, you'd buy the tire that the guy that like maybe weighed 50 more grams, but he rode all the Perry Tours and didn't get a flat. You know, it's like, I would be more impressed with a race that left more chances for disasters and or like I'm gonna explain this, like, just like more of what's a realistic aspect of either just going on a ride or being in a race as an amateur. You know what I mean? Like, and the tour what's the perfect amount? Spencer, what, taking little guys to the next level, right? Yeah, what do you think's the perfect amount as assistance? Like, let's interpret what little guy's saying. If we were in little guy's shoes now, is there any team cars? Is there a neutral support? Or is it just throw a tube out the window like a Cat 4-5 race?
Yeah, I understand what little guy's saying, and I get it. I understand the spirit of it, but I also, like, I want to see a fair outcome. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see, because somebody just happens to get a flat, like that sucks. Like, especially at a race like Worlds or something. Like, if there's a crash with 130K to go, I don't really think it's a big deal to get back to the peloton. If you do the rest of those 100, you still rode the whole thing, you know. Like, it's not like people sitting in the peloton. It's not like people sitting in the peloton aren't getting a draft that you're now somehow unfairly getting from a car, right? Like, I don't even think that rule necessarily makes sense.
I totally disagree with that.
But I don't want to see, Stybar famously taken out by a photographer in Paris-Roubaix when he's probably going to win.
Yeah.
That, but that you hate to see.
Well, I don't want to see that
either. At the same time, that incident makes that race even more exciting. If Stybar gets a flat 100K from the end and nobody helps him, that just kind of takes a favorite out of the race, and that sucks. So
yeah, but that sucks. But like, that happens in the tour every year, basically, right? Like, we have a bunch of favorites go out because of crashes, and in a way, I think it makes the race better. Like, if all the favorites showed up at the end, they'd all just stare at each other. The fact that some of them leave and then some people get elevated to positions where they didn't think they'd be, and they take that shot, I think is what is exciting.
Yeah.
So, little guy, it's like taking your argument a little bit further. Like, let's say, like, hey, fix your own flats or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is there any type of, like, in your perfect world of the tour in classics, I think just the inequality of teams is what bothers me the most, right? So, like, you have teams that have crazy amount of support, and then you have some teams that, just can't afford it. So you look at, like, this would be the ultimate argument, I would say, is that you couple this all in together with the salary cap rule, right? Like, like, there is some basic supports that are allowed, and then if those aren't it, the team car, each team only gets 2. I mean, it's like, some of these teams, they have so many team cars. They got the car to take the bike that had the motor off the course, and no one knows that it's happening because they're out of caravan.
That car should be illegal.
Like it's so crazy. But I love getting this email from Nick because I do like getting challenged by our listeners. And then we also got another one today, like right before we recorded. Graham Partain, longtime listener of the podcast. Just this is where do I start? Listening to you guys talk about Zwift is like listening to my dad trying to explain cycling.
It's fair.
And I was like, oh, really? What did we get wrong? And he says, it's pretty ridiculous, this whole like fake bike thing, like the Tron bike and he's going it and he's so passionate about it. But it's all about the bot.
Yeah, the bot's stupid.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. But it's still like, if you're going to do a national championship, shouldn't everybody be on the same equipment if it's in a fake world?
Yeah, I think so.
Like he is the national champion. Like he was on the same bike as everybody else in the competition.
I totally agree, but he's also up for burglary. He burgled the Trombot off the internet. You have to do 2 to 5 in Barstool or wherever the hell they send the juvenile delinquents in the UK.
Well, thanks again for the emails. If you want to email, partake in the discussion, reach us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com, and we'd love to listen. Or you can also tweet us at the Slow Ride Pod or on Instagram at the Slow Ride Pod. It's always fun, and we always have a ton of fun reading all of these, even if they don't make it to the air. So
these ones are good because I think we fixed pro cycling by talking about this.
Well, we fixed it.
We laid out everything there needs to be done. Basically. So this then leads us into the final part where you want to get in touch with us. Is you can head over to the Slow Ride Podcast official fan experience zone on Facebook. And a friend of the podcast, Sean McCombs, has one for us. And this is a quick one, guys. He was out riding a solo ride this morning, and he wasn't too motivated to ride. And towards the end, he was just kind of poking along with 3 miles to go. And another rider passed him at a pretty good clip with not even a wave or a hello. Not going to lie, him passing me so easily snapped me out of my lethargic pace. And since I only had 3 miles to go, I decided to match his pace from a few hundred feet back, because I didn't want him to get out of sight on the twisty road. We both rode through a stop sign, but since he was ahead of me, I carried way more speed and closed the gap. I got as close to drafting without drafting, and he looked behind me and saw me, swung over the yellow, possibly going over it. So I said, sorry about that. You caught me lollygagging. I meant just to keep you in sight, but I got a little close. He did not say a word, picked up the pace, and swerved right back to the right side of the road. At this point, I just soft pedaled in. And Sean wants to know, am I the ass in this situation? What do you... I don't know if you're an ass.
So
it's funny.
Look, you're going down the greenway. You see a guy going slow. You pass him. You just go past. You don't even have time to say hi, whatever, because you're in the zone.
Yeah. I'm doing an interval.
You're definitely doing an interval. You get to the end. You get to Minnetonka Boulevard. Yeah. You look behind you. The guy is like 10 yards behind you.
That feels a little weird. That's a little close.
A little close.
I probably just sort of look at. I probably did what this guy did. I wouldn't swing over the yellow line, but I just look at him and be like, okay, I guess if that's what you want to do. But I mean, I've also been that guy who's riding along, needs a little motivation, and you pick somebody who goes by you and is just going that little bit more that you can't motivate yourself to do on your own, and you do that. You stay back 50 yards or 30 yards or whatever. It
sounds like he was doing that, but he did the ultimate slow roll through the stop sign, which I think is the key here, is that he played it correctly, right? Like rolling through the stop sign, and then he gets really close. The swerving over the yellow line, I think, is my favorite part of the story.
It's a little much.
So is that an exaggerated, like, well, if you're back there, pull through kind of move?
Like, where his elbows just tweaking, just like pull through.
Yeah.
Maybe. I remember always having that feeling on the greenway when people would be right behind me, and I would look back, and there they were, and it's just like, it just really annoyed the hell out of me.
It always annoys me when we're on a group ride of like 4 or 5 people, and then there's some new guy that jumps behind.
But I've certainly been the guy who tries to do that pace thing, and then suddenly you get too close, and you're like trying to slow down, but you don't want to just like slam on the brakes. Because there's another guy 30 yards behind you doing the same thing, and it's just a chain reaction. Before you know it, that's how you get traffic jams on the greenway.
So I guess my question to Sean is, was this guy Bling Matthews?
If so, do whatever you want.
Yeah. If he has a "Only God Can Judge Me" tattoo, like Peepo, then you totally get on his wheel and draft him all day. That would be awesome.
What's Peepo been doing? Spencer, Peepo update. Pull up his Instagram. What's he been doing?
I have no idea. No idea.
I thought you followed him on Instagram. He's probably posting pictures of Ferraris every day and stuff.
While Spencer is pulling up Peepo's Instagram to let you know what's happening, we'd like to thank, once again, all of the listeners and supporters and members of the Wide Angle Podium Network. As Spencer was saying earlier, and little guy, head on over to wideanglepodium.com and click on Donate. At the various levels, you can get a variety of rewards that are only available during the member drive. Quite simply, if you ever want to buy us a beer, this would be a great time to do it with either a one-time donation or $5, $10, $15 a monthly donation, where you can get a variety of freebies, including shirts, buttons, stickers, the Aero Race pins, and 4 years of bonus content. Because at the end of the day, the Wide Angle Podium is a member-supported network, and we love your support. And we do the member drive just once a year over the course of 2 weeks, 2 shows here on the Slow Ride Podcast, and we absolutely love anybody that wants to join us, because the more donors we have, the less advertising filling your earbuds.
Totally, and it means a lot. It was really nice to know. Yeah, any amount. Somebody gives $1, it feels great just to know that you're willing to throw a little coin our way and that you appreciate this nonsense that we're giving you.
Absolutely. And with that, I'd like to thank BK1 of Rhymesters Entertainment for the intro and outro music. We'd also like to thank those that have emailed us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com and our followers on Instagram and Twitter at the Slow Ride Pod. This is Tim in Orlando, Florida.
This is Matt in Minneapolis.
And this is Spencer in Boston, reminding you to always wave at all your fellow cyclists that you see out on the road, even if you just rolled right up onto their back wheel by blowing a stop sign.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod.
I do see a photo without his shirt on, so things are still going well for Peepo.